All hits all the time. Star 98.3. That is Maroon 5, 10 minutes after 9 o'clock, 9:10. And joining us on the phone lines this morning, we are thrilled to have the governor of the great state of Maryland on the phone with us this morning. Good morning, Governor Hogan.
Good morning. It's great to be with you guys.
So good to be with you, but I got to ask you, it's been a week. I know last Saturday I had the same condition you had. How did the surgery go Saturday?
Went really well, thank you. And, I'm getting my stitches out today. So
good.
Less than a week later. I've got a couple of cool-looking scars on my head, but I think it makes me look tougher. So,
Listen, chicks dig scars.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Now, sir, I got to tell you, you have been busy. Your office has been busy. I've been receiving emails from your office for the last 2 weeks about stuff that is going on.
Yeah, you guys are probably sick of getting emails.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. I'm trying to stay on top of it. One of the most important things I want to talk about to kick off this whole thing, actually, I got two things, but one, the delay implementation of the paid sick leave measure.
Right.
Now, one of our guys down here, Mac Middleton, he actually supported that, right?
Yeah, he actually introduced the bill, which passed the Senate, to put a delay in. And Senator Middleton and I actually met and discussed it, and we're happy with his leadership on that because it's a very confusing thing.
Yes.
There's still multiple pieces of legislation that have not been decided. They overrode my veto on this, but they realize it's deeply flawed and that it's not ready to be implemented. And Senator Middleton showed real leadership, and it passed the Senate. But now the House is saying they may refuse to pass the delay, which is creating tremendous confusion. We've got, of course, a compromise bill that I think most people agree with, and then we've got a companion bill that would provide tax incentives so that small businesses can pay for the sick leave benefits the state is requiring, and it'll keep us from, killing small businesses and jobs.
I'm glad you said it was confusing because I read it and I said to myself, well, either I'm dumb or I'm not getting this.
You're pretty smart, T-Bone. It's just confusing. I was looking at the clips today, and half the headlines say, they voted to delay, and the other one says it takes effect immediately.
Okay, perfect world. You don't have to deal with Annapolis. Hey, can you imagine that?
That would be a perfect world.
Wouldn't that be perfect? Let's say
if we could not deal with Washington also.
Well, yeah.
Oh, amen, brother.
So, yeah, you're from your lips to God's ear. Let's say it's a perfect world and you can do whatever you want with this
paid sick
leave thing. What would you like to have happen? Because I'm still trying to drill down to that.
Well, so look, I think most people in the state would like to have paid sick leave, and they think if if people can afford to do it, they should provide that, and many employers in our state already do. But what the state is currently saying is very small businesses, some of whom are really on the edge and working on very small margins and struggling to make it. This is a cost that really could put some of them out of business.
Sure,
it could cost jobs. So in the perfect world, we come up with a compromise to provide. I like providing carrots and incentives rather than sticks and punishments. The legislature's punishing small businesses and telling you must do this or we're going to penalize you. And I'm trying to say, hey, let's encourage good behavior by giving them a tax break to pay for it.
Go figure.
And it just seems to be a better idea. Our bill actually covers more people, but it doesn't kill the businesses and jobs.
Well, I'm sure you saw this. If you didn't, let me be the first to tell you. You were voted the second most popular governor in the United States.
Ooh,
I don't know who the other guy is.
Well,
we can go by and whack him in the knees or something.
Well, damn it, it's really, how do we get to number one? I'm a little frustrated with that. But
hey, you're wearing the silver medal.
You know what? Yeah, I was going for the gold. And,
right.
It's actually a good buddy of mine, Charlie Baker, who's a Republican governor in the state of Massachusetts, believe it or not. So the two of us, are Republican governors in deep blue states, and he's a good guy and doing a good job as well. But we do have a little friendly competition. We text each other. He texts me when I'm up one time, and he says, what I got to do to beat you, and then I'm like, you're a tough guy to catch up with, Charlie. So
I'm assuming you're going to run again for governor.
Well, that's a pretty good assumption. I mean, people seem to be happy with the job we're doing, and I wouldn't want to let them down by walking out before the job is done.
One of the big things that has been going on the last couple of weeks too, you're hating criminals every which way. We've got the Repeat Sexual Predator Prevention Act. You're going after drug dealers. What is it that drives you when it comes to repeat criminals in the state of Maryland? What do you see as the problem, and what do you see as Stallone said, the cure?
Right.
Well, look, we have, last year we passed the most significant criminal justice reform bill in a generation. And that actually helped reduce our prison population for lesser crimes, and it gave people second chances. But with this, all of our legislation now is focused on two things: repeat violent offenders, people who commit crimes with a gun, and people that are just repeat violent criminals that we have to get off our streets. So, we've got a truth in sentencing bill because people, they have a minimum sentence, but then they suspend the whole sentence and they never actually do the time. We've got a bill to make it tough to increase the penalties for people who commit a felony with a handgun. We've got people that are shooting people in the streets of Baltimore and never doing time and being led on the streets to shoot somebody again, which is outrageous. Repeat sexual predator bill, which I believe we're going to get passed. And so we want to get tough on violent criminals and repeat offenders, while at the same time giving second chances to people that are maybe convicted of minor offenses that we want to help them turn their life around.
Governor Hogan, we got a call yesterday from somebody who heard that you were going to be on the show, and they said, can you please ask him what as the entire state of Maryland we can do about the violence that is going on in Baltimore and the murder rate, which is out of control. As the governor and the biggest city we got going, what do we do about that?
Well, a big part of it is the stuff we just talked about. It's the folks in Baltimore. It's just outrageous that we have of the people who were murdered in Baltimore City last year, of the 340 people who were shot, most of them have extensive criminal records. One day they're the shooter, the next day they're the victim.
Right.
They average about 11.7 arrests and 3.2 convictions, and yet they're still on the streets to be killed. Mm-hmm. So getting tough on these criminals, this is about maybe 500 or 600 really bad guys in Baltimore City. We got to take them off the streets and put them in jail. All of our bills are trying to address not just Baltimore City, but the rest of the state. The getting tough on the criminals, having accountability, putting them in jail. And we also, we called in all of the federal authorities, all of our state agencies. We sent in state officers from the state police and 4 other state police agencies. We called in the U.S. Marshals. We sent 500 additional officers into the streets of Baltimore,
wow.
Including parole and probation officers. And we've arrested hundreds of really bad guys to assist the Baltimore City Police Department. But it's really, the mayor and the new police commissioner have got to get a handle on straightening out their department. We're just trying to provide the laws and the tools that they need to get these guys behind bars and to get the judges to act. And we're trying to provide all the assistance we can to back them up.
And one of the big ways to do that, I think, is to start young. And one of the big things you're talking about is the independent office of the state education, the investigator general. I mean, because why did you have to take these steps to have an independent office of the state education department? What's going on there? Not just the grade thing going on in Prince George's County, which is just outrageous, but what started this with you?
Well, it really comes down to accountability, and the problem is that the state provides, in many cases, most of the money, and yet we have no control. In Baltimore City, 90% of the money spent there on school construction, on school operating expenses comes from state taxpayers, and yet we have nothing to do with how they spend the money.
Who does?
The Baltimore City Board of Education. So even the mayor doesn't control it.
Okay.
But we've got all these legal issues and ethical issues in Prince George's County, the lack of leadership and the 5,000 grades being changed and they're not being responsive. We've got, ethical problems and ethics violations in Baltimore County. We've got, Baltimore City just out of control. And so they keep we keep calling on the State Board of Ed, or others do, to come in and oversee and investigate some of these local jurisdictions and to make them more accountable, and yet we don't have the resources. So we're trying to create a separate, totally independent investigator general that can oversee some of these problems, and we're also pushing for accountability measures because we need to work hard to fix these persistently failing and broken schools.
Yeah.
We have some of the best schools in the country, but we've got some really bad problems in some of our local jurisdictions, and we want to try to force accountability on them.
Governor, I know your time is limited. What can we look forward moving into 2018 for Maryland? What's some good news coming down the pipe?
Well, the thing that we've really been focused on is creating.
Is Amazon coming?
Is Amazon coming?
You guys didn't even let me finish the question. You both jumped in. Is Amazon coming? Is Amazon coming? Look, I sure hope they are. We're working hard. It's 50,000 jobs that average 100,000 each, and the impact on our local economy is the direct impact is something like $38 billion, and not to mention the spin-off benefit and all the other jobs it creates. And so, we're working hard, and we're very happy to be on the short list, and hopefully we will get Amazon. But we've also, just been working to make Maryland a more business-friendly place for small businesses, and we've had the greatest economic turnaround of any state in America. We've gone from last place to first place in job creation in the Mid-Atlantic region.
Wow!
And added 120,000 jobs, and we're just going to keep trying to move our economy forward. I think it's good for everybody in Maryland.
And lastly, especially as it pertains to Southern Maryland, we've had numerous calls this morning when people heard you were calling the show. T and I would like to invite you to come out and either drive over the Governor Thomas Johnson Bridge or get on a boat. We know many a boat owner, and to go under the Thomas Johnson Bridge, because we need that bridge fixed, Governor.
Yeah.
I know you're working on the Harry Nice, and that's fantastic.
Well, you know what? I agree with you. I've driven over the bridge multiple times because, as you know, I've got family in St. Mary's County.
You do.
And I visit quite a bit. I've also been under the bridge on a boat multiple times, and I flew the simulator down at Pax River. I flew a jet plane under Thomas Johnson Bridge.
Did you really?
I did.
Nice.
I clipped the wing. Luckily, it wasn't a real jet, so it didn't cost the taxpayers any money. But I almost made it. But yeah, we're fixing and replacing 69 structurally deficient bridges all across the state, and we've been focused on every single major road improvement in the state that's been held up for years. Harry Nice Bridge is just ahead of Thomas Johnson, and we've got that fully funded. But we are starting the planning and studies for the Thomas Johnson Bridge. It's obviously something that has to be addressed. And it's probably not going to happen in 2018, but I would say that's a great second-term project to finally get something done.
Second-term project, like that.
Governor, thank you for calling in today. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. If you ever find yourself in this neck of the woods, please do stop by.
Don't be
I
such
would
a
love
stranger.
to stop in.
Yes.
Absolutely. We'll try to work on being in studio with you. It'll be fun.
On a personal level, I will say I am thrilled with the job you've done in your first session, first term, and I truly hope you decide to run again.
Well, thank you very much. Maybe with you guys, encouraging me, I'll probably have to give that consideration.
Yeah,
You
right.
need us
That'll be the tipping point.
I
want us to do it.
I was on the fence until T-Bone and Heather said I should do it again.
Yeah,
I love that. Thank
All
you,
right,
Governor.
thank you, sir.
Please don't be a stranger, okay?
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Take care.
Well, if they want it.
Well, I guess I need to do it.
I have to do it. 9:23, phone lines are open.